Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint by Sing Shong. Chapter 144. The Ultimate Sacrifice. Part 4. Geez, this could end quicker than I thought? The Dakibi giggled as he saw the bloody battle between Yu Jonghyuk and Nirvana. If not one half, I thought at least a third of the incarnations would die. This story isn't interesting. In the air, 3 intermediate Dakibis were looking down at the stadium. The incarnations outside the stadium froze at the appearance of the Dakibis. Every time they appeared, something ridiculous happened. Is it worth giving a hint now? It isn't a big deal. Let's release them a bit faster. The moment the Dakibis spoke, the rankings of the incarnations started to appear on a board in the air. Plus, the 8th strongest incarnation in Seoul Dome is Moonlight Girl Yusenga. The 7th strongest incarnation in Seoul Dome is Armed Fortress Master Gong Pildu. The 6th strongest incarnation in Seoul Dome is Judge of Destruction Young Hee-won. Plus, 3 rankings were released in an instant and the reactions of people were almost explosive. Who is Yusenga? Moonlight Girl? Gong Pildu is 7th. Young Hee-won was also watching the electronic display in the sky. Oh my, I'm 6th. I am 10th, Che. Uni, would you like to have a match against me? Lee Jai-hai asked as she trampled on John Ildo, who was trapped on the ground. Young Hee-won also stepped on him and replied, HRMM, I'm sorry but it's hard. My sponsor likes you. What? Why? Instead of answering, Young Hee-won pointed her sword at John Ildo. Excuse me, John Ildo SSI, who can't even make it into the top 10. John Ildo's whole body shivered at the sight of the blade and he asked, Young Hee-won, how did you get rid of thought infection? Don't ask me questions. I'll kill you if you don't answer quickly. If you kill me, you can't get rid of the dome. These were the last full words he said. The atmosphere was somewhat tiring, so Young Hee-won punched John Ildo one more time before going to find Kim Dokja. Dokja SSI? However, Kim Dokja wasn't present. Plus, the 5th strongest incarnation in Seoul Dome is Pure Steel Lee Hyunsung. Plus, Lee Hyunsung and Gong Pildu fighting with the monsters outside the dome heard the message. Gong Pildu frowned and asked, what is Pure Steel? I don't know either. Lee Hyunsung used Great Mountain Smash on the 5th grade monsters. For him who could use steel transformation, the disaster level monsters were no longer an enemy. However, the number of monsters was more than they thought and the front line was slowly being pushed back. Lee Hyunsung protected the armed fortress while thinking. Dokja SSI. Are things going well? He hoped that Kim Dokja would answer, but of course, Kim Dokja didn't respond. Plus, the 4th strongest incarnation in Seoul Dome is Black Flame's Empress Han Soo-young. Plus, at the same time, Han Soo-young was laughing as she saw the board. I'm really 4th? Han Soo-young asked as she looked down at Kim Dokja bleeding on the ground. He was stabbed so that he wouldn't die instantly, but the bleeding was severe and he was sure to die soon. Han Soo-young bent down and touched the cheek of the bleeding Kim Dokja. Kim Dokja. Are you really going to die like this? What if you are in 3rd place? Han Soo-young looked down at Kim Dokja with an uncomfortable expression. You look so carefree now. Of course, Kim Dokja didn't answer. She was the one who stabbed him, but once she did, she was really afraid that Kim Dokja would die. He didn't even have an avatar, no, perhaps? Why am I worried about him? Han Soo-young complained before falling silent. The lips of the unconscious Kim Dokja contorted with pain. She wanted to know what was going on, but she didn't ask. Kim Dokja was having a hard time. Like her, he was an ordinary person before the world was destroyed. Such a person had jumped onto a stage to decide the world's fate and was moving the main characters. Han Soo-young had forgotten for a moment that Kim Dokja was also a normal human. She stretched out a finger and touched Kim Dokja's mouth. Then her face became a strange mixture of a smile and a frown. Han Soo-young giggled. It is really strange. At this moment, a huge shock wave occurred in the dome. The battle between Yu Jonghyuk and Nirvana was coming to an end. Haha, there are 3 people left to look forward to. I wonder who they are. Just wait. The rankings will soon be made public. The constellation Secretive Plotter is shutting off his heart. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is sweating and has lost hair. The constellation Bald General of Justice wipes his head. Yu Jonghyuk listened to the incoming messages and raised his sword again. There was a gruesome sound as the 1,000 hands of Avalokite's Vara were pierced and a mechanical sound came from deep muscles. Yu Jonghyuk felt his presence slowly collapsing. It was the side effect of giant body transformation. It was the cost of bearing the power that he couldn't afford. The Colossus had clearly warned him when he was given this power. Never use this skill until all your stats have reached 3 digits. However, the Colossus expected him to receive this skill through transmission. He knew Yu Jonghyuk wouldn't listen to his warning. Yu Jonghyuk had to walk the Sura path, the impossible path, and he had to use every means he had to pass. The frustrating thing was that the end of the road was still invisible. Yu Jonghyuk squeezed out all the magic power in his body and aimed his sword. There was a huge blast of blue magic power towards Nirvana. Splitting the sky is an explosion. Don't hide yourself. Expand, blossom, flood. Don't allow the heavens to be above you. It was the words of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, who taught him breaking the sky swordsmanship. In the middle and second half of the second regression, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint fought against the alliance of returnees and died alone. At that time, Yu Jonghyuk saw a thick sky that he couldn't break. There was definitely such a sky in the world. Yu Jonghyuk. However, Nirvana wasn't that sky. Nirvana was a strong reincarnator. He would become stronger in the future. He wasn't yet as strong as a heavenly demon or the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Thus, I can kill you. Yu Jonghyuk released all his magic power and crushed Nirvana's entire body. Nirvana's 1,000 hands of Avalokite's Vara was broken to pieces. The flesh hit by the magic power was torn apart. This was the limit of a hastily inherited skill. Hua! Nirvana's body smashed into the ground and a huge shock wave occurred inside. Yu Jonghyuk was sure of his victory. This strike was sufficient. Nirvana might have a number of hidden cards, but he couldn't reverse a blow like this. He became aware of Kim Dokja, so he would have inherited a close-range skill. Yu Jonghyuk pulled up his remaining magic power and prepared the final blow. The moment he emerged from the pit to deal the final blow, a beep suddenly rang in his head. The exclusive skill Advanced Mental Barrier LV3 has reached its limit. The exclusive skill Thought Vaccine LV1 has eroded it. What? It wasn't possible. Thought Vaccine was a counterskill to Nirvana's Thought Infection and Eternal Prison. Why was it used on him? Don't tell me. He gained sudden enlightenment. The present Nirvana was still weaker than the Nirvana of his past life. What if Nirvana didn't inherit a close combat skill? Despite the variable called Kim Dokja, Nirvana's only goal was Yu Jonghyuk from the beginning. Shit, it is 108 worries. The exclusive skill Advanced Mental Barrier LV3 has been destroyed. 108 evil spirits have started to gnaw at your mind. At this moment, Yu Jonghyuk's eyes turned black and his 5 senses started to run wild. He should have noticed something strange when his thoughts became unusually heavy. Nirvana laughed from inside the pit. Yu Jonghyuk. Only I can understand you. It was obvious that Nirvana had been enduring only for this moment. 108 giant beads shone behind Nirvana. Stop now and become one with me. Light rose, and Yu Jonghyuk felt fragments of agony piece his mind. He wouldn't be able to guarantee his next regression if he fell to this skill. It is up to here. He had to regress now. Yu Jonghyuk exercised final control over his body and brought the heaven-shaking sword to his neck. Don't imagine that you will get better if you throw away this round. Why did those words appear at this moment? Maybe this is the round where you will see the end of this world as a human. Yu Jong-hyuk was in a terrible state of mind and had a thought for the first time. Kim Dokja. Then his vision gradually dimmed. You jerk, you think quickly. He was mistaken. A familiar voice was heard. Take a break. Despite his reluctance, Yu Jong-hyuk felt relieved by the voice and easily closed his eyes. I slowly opened my eyes and felt like I was overflowing with power. The height of my field of view had changed and the feeling of the combat muscles made me feel good. An adequate amount of adrenaline was secreted. I was full of confidence that I could do anything. The first-person protagonist's point of view has been activated. Crazy, this was the real first-person protagonist's point of view. This was how Yu Jong-hyuk usually felt. I could never be strong like this. How did you get your mind back from 108 worries? I could see Nirvana's figure in the distance. I glanced outside the stadium. The fact that I was attached to Yu Jong-hyuk meant that Han Soo-young had done her job properly. If it was as scheduled, there were 5 minutes remaining until my breathing completely stopped. Nirvana's eyes were fierce as he aimed a skill at me again. The character Nirvana Mobius has used 108 worries LV2. 108 worries. It was originally a skill to raise a person's enlightenment level by frightening their own spirit, but when used on others, it would invoke terrible delirium. In particular, the effect was worse than thought infection or eternal prison for regressors like Yu Jong-hyuk. Of course, this would only happen if I was Yu Jong-hyuk. The fourth wall has completely neutralized the effect of 108 worries. I'm sorry, but I wasn't the normal Yu Jong-hyuk now. This feeling is, who are you? As expected, the reincarnator noticed quickly. I rushed over and punched him in the mouth. Quiet. Nirvana went flying with a scream. The body of a regressor was truly excellent. I had this much speed and destructive power without even using electrification. Nirvana's physical strength was exhausted and he couldn't resist as he flew through the air. It was a very pleasant feeling. However, Nirvana could still withstand it. It was natural. He would be used to pain and death. I once again hit him and said, "You have been through death dozens of times, so you don't know death." It's funny. Death was death, and it only happened once. A human's present was important because there was nothing after death. This was why Nirvana didn't know death or the present. A person who can't live in the present preaches about the present. There is no contradiction. How about me, Kyak? I know. The reason why you want to be one with Yu Jong-hyuk, why you are spreading the Salvation Church and what you ultimately want to reach. I understood, which was why I had to stop him now. Nirvana hesitated. Still, he was a reincarnator and quickly regained his composure. Nirvana shouted, "Foolish person! It is useless to do this. Even if you do this, Yu Jong-hyuk will die. No one can stop the destruction of the scenarios. Even if this life is ruined, the world will repeat. I will reincarnate and Yu Jong-hyuk will regress. We will end up as one." Yes, this was the mindset of a reincarnator. However, do you really think so? At this moment, a message appeared on the message board. This was the right timing. Plus, the third strongest incarnation in Seoul Dome is Supreme King Yu Jong-hyuk. Plus, Nirvana's expression became strange. The third? Yu Jong-hyuk? I nodded and smiled. Yu Jong-hyuk will never go to the next regression. What? No matter what, Yu Jong-hyuk will survive. It is either you or me. Don't make me laugh. I am the strongest incarnation, Nirvana Mobius. A trivial person like you. Plus, the second strongest incarnation in Seoul Dome is Salvation Leader Nirvana. Plus, damn. I didn't know the second place would already be released. I looked up and saw the Dakibis giggling like it was funny. Maybe they decided the game was settled. Nirvana's body started to tremble. This is ridiculous. Nirvana, you said that you wanted to live in the present? Perhaps, you. Nirvana's body shook like he encountered a topic that could never be interpreted. I stared at Nirvana and opened my mouth. It was a very low voice, like the whisper of a reaper. I will tell you about your death. Chapter 145. The Ultimate Sacrifice. Part 5. The moment that the third and second rankings were announced in Seoul, the incarnations fell into a panic. Fuck. What is this? Then who is the strongest? What are we going to do? The incarnations assumed that the strongest person was either Yoo Jong-hyuk or Nirvana, and that both of them would die here. Now the situation had changed. The moment the first-ranked person was obscured, the incarnations trying to clear the scenario shivered at the unexpected reversal. To make matters worse, one of the fifth-grade monsters pierced through the defenses. The miserable incarnations were torn apart by the beast's teeth. The situation was becoming worse. The fifth-grade monsters weren't easy, and the incarnations were less united than expected. Asterisk current number of incarnations, 89,041. Thousands of incarnations died. Lee Hyun-sung broke the head of a monster with Great Mountain Smash. Soldier Ajusi. What the hell is going on? Lee Jae-hai and Young Hee-won rushed towards him. They had also been responsible for defending against the monsters. If Nirvana isn't the strongest, isn't Dr. Ajusi wrong? What are we going to do now? The party's plan was based on the assumption that Nirvana is the strongest incarnation. Now the scenario wouldn't end even if they killed Nirvana. Lee Hyun-sung stared blankly at the stadium. I think. Lee Hyun-sung's face paled as he had a thought. Quiet. Nirvana screamed as his body flew through the air. You will tell me about death? Don't make me laugh. Despite being helplessly beaten, Nirvana remained steadfast. I won't die. No matter what you say, true death won't come to me. If I could die that easily, I wouldn't have suffered like this. I was amazed that he could retain such emotions after living such a long life. Perhaps this was his purpose when preaching of salvation. I grabbed his collar and told him, you actually want to die. Right? It is because you can't die that you are comforted by the deaths of others. Every human placed value on their life because they only died once. That's why you preach to the Salvation Church. You watched them live a one-time life and also want to be absorbed into their lives. You want to share the emotions they feel. Your understanding of the character Nirvana Mobius has increased. I knew Nirvana. I didn't just know him because he was a character in the novel. Nirvana yearned for something he could never be. Nirvana resembled me. Don't speak nonsense. Unexpectedly, Nirvana's voice was calm. It was when he was really angry that he made a voice like this. It is the same for humans who don't know death. Nothing exists after a rare death. Humans can die, but they can't suffer from death in a true sense. It is something that can't be owned by anyone. At least we can feel the fear of death. It makes human life possible. That is the biggest difference between you and an ordinary human. You. Nirvana's fist flew towards me, but I easily caught it. That's why you want to become one with Yoo Jong-hyuk. You think you can erase your existence by becoming one with Yoo Jong-hyuk. Right? Nirvana's expression completely stiffened. Reincarnation is the stigma of the highest grade constellation. To erase it, you need the power of a higher constellation. Nirvana looked at me and gritted his teeth. You are beyond my imagination. I hear that often. Then kill me. I'm not afraid of death as you said. Nirvana's eyes were burning with vengeance. Still, you better keep something in mind. I'll come back again and again. I will come back to life a number of times, kill you, and show you the worst pain. Just like I did to your mother. I was surprised. Did you meet my mother? She is a very good mother. The exclusive skill, fourth wall, is shaking. It is fun to make her submit. You know, I like to corrupt a virtuous spirit. The exclusive skill, fourth wall, is shaking. The scene where she struggled and begged for her life is still vivid in my eyes. There was such provocation in this world. I was hooked, despite knowing it was a provocation. This was despite knowing my mother wouldn't have done that. The exclusive skill, fourth wall, is steadily shaking. Ha ha ha. You are caught. My vision shook and the world became black. The character Nirvana Mobius has used 108 worries LV2. My consciousness was sucked somewhere and I was thrown into a world other than the stadium. I heard familiar voices in the darkness. Master, run away. Please, please save this world. You can easily throw away this world. But They were voices filled with resentment. I knew where this world was. It was the place where the fourth wall was shaking. It was the inner part of Yu Jonghyuk, who was infested with many worries. Yu Jonghyuk. You finally allowed me in. Now, you will be one with me. Nirvana was standing in front of me. I smiled as I looked at him. Preparing a counterattack at the last minute, a reincarnator was truly a reincarnator. I told him, it was a mistake for you to enter here. A mandala pattern appeared under Nirvana's feet. The inner surface of the soul was less affected by probability. Here, Nirvana was able to use the power of the stories he accumulated. Nirvana grew to the size of a giant in a flash. The pressure of the soul that accumulated countless stories was really great. Once again, it was natural for him to have built up such stories. Hundreds of arms grew like wings from his back, while his legs were half covered with the feathers of a bird and half covered with the scales of a snake. A wolf-like snout protruded and horns grew from his head. It looked like he was concentrating all the reincarnations he had experienced. I am Nirvana Mobius. This was Nirvana himself. A reincarnator who leads the unfortunate people to Nirvana. He looked confident, but Nirvana didn't know. I deliberately let myself be hit by his 108 worries. I smiled and opened my mouth. Nirvana, do you know the principle of reincarnation? The space trembled ominously. I kept speaking. Your soul is bound to the mandala's guardian. Once you die, you don't go to the underworld. According to the unique laws of the constellations, your soul is nestled in a body that was just born. What are you talking about? You aren't immortal. Your body is born again, but your soul isn't. Nonsense. The hundreds of arms on Nirvana's back poured towards me. The 1,000 hands of Avalokite's Vara poured out like a waterfall. If I was hit by that in reality, my body would burst and I would be dead. However, this place was different. Now I was Yu Jonghyuk. In other words, this was also my inner self. The 1,000 hands of Avalokite's Vara melted away in front of my nose. Nirvana looked baffled. I saw the numerous pages that surrounded me. The exclusive skill, fourth wall, is activated. There was the sound of pages turning and the pages started to flutter around. There were words written on the white pages. The countless words that I read formed a huge wall. The astounded Nirvana tried to escape, but it was already too late. Sparks formed as Nirvana's body hit the wall. What have you done? The fourth wall could even repel the constellations. I was curious. Maybe it was possible to use this to wipe out a reincarnator. Release this wall. This is. The perplexed Nirvana looked at the wall. A blinding light emerged from the letters on the wall. If this world continues to be reborn, we can clear it. Don't tell me. Nirvana stared at the pages that contained his truth. Yu Jonghyuk, I can take you to the end of this world. How do you have this? I approached Nirvana and said, you don't have to go until the end of this world. Every time letters appeared on the world, Nirvana's huge body started to disintegrate. Nirvana's body split into countless letters and started to be sucked into the fourth wall. You will die here. There was a strange emotion on Nirvana's face as he saw his soul disintegrating. At last, the reincarnator Nirvana reached a single life after hundreds of years of wandering. Nirvana laughed as he saw the sentence on the wall. Ha, ha ha, ha ha ha. He greeted his first real death. Nirvana's expression was jubilant. This is dying. I see. This is it. At that moment, Nirvana realized what he had long been waiting for. It had been hundreds of years. He reached the end after countless incarnations. Nirvana closed his eyes at this long-awaited moment. Despite closing his eyes, Nirvana's inner thoughts were still written on the wall. Then why? This is what I've been hoping for. Nirvana's entire body was covered with minor cracks. His feet, legs, thighs, chest. The broken pieces were being sucked into the fourth wall. Why am I feeling afraid? He felt the fear of death for the first time. To die. There was no future. He couldn't think, move, talk, or even feel his own existence. I don't exist. Nirvana's eyes flashed open for a moment. Don't. I don't want to. However, Nirvana's mouth was gone and he couldn't shout it. His disappearing arms stretched helplessly towards me. In the first place, existence isn't beautiful. No one would hold a philosophical view when fated to die. All beings were helpless before death. No. Please. Stop. Don't kill me. Yes, your mother's secret. I know it. I know the story that your mother never told you. Save me. Please. If you save me. I looked at him. It was as if witnessing the end of a character in the novel. In his last moments, Nirvana repeated the words he hated the most. I don't want to die. Soon, Nirvana's soul completely disappeared. The fourth wall has eaten the character Nirvana Mobius. This was the first message I heard. The wall reacted differently from when it killed the theater dungeon's boss. I was frightened at first. The fourth wall is smiling with satisfaction. It was fine to kill Nirvana. However, once I thought about it, I didn't know exactly what the fourth wall was. The fourth wall is looking at you with greedy eyes. It wriggled like it was alive. The wall wanted a taste of me, like swallowing Nirvana wasn't enough. Something popped up on the wall. At this moment, Kim Dokja thought, maybe someday, I will also be eaten by this wall. 108 worries has been disabled. My vision started to return to its original state. The wall, Nirvana, Yu Jonghyuk. It was as if nothing had happened from the beginning. I blinked and found I was back at the Gwangwoman Stadium. Nirvana was scattering in front of my eyes. After a long time wandering, he finally found rest. The area was silent, as if cold water had been poured on it. I slowly moved Yu Jonghyuk's feet. The Dakibi started talking. It is already the end of the scenario. Shall I now announce who the strongest incarnation is? I found it hard to move due to fatigue. The voice of the Dakibi was heard above my head. The strongest incarnation, he is. At this moment, my consciousness blurred and I couldn't hear the voice anymore. It seemed that my time had run out. I couldn't hear the final words as my consciousness disappeared. Excessive mental exhaustion has turned off Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 3. First-person protagonist's point of view has been released. You have died. 2 days later, my funeral began.